Alright, hey, it's me again. Here we go. Sorry we didn't get to it yesterday, man. It's been like 12 degrees here, and that's just that's just too cold for me to function. But we're ready now. We're gonna give her a go. I went ahead and got the case out. Several people asked me which case I was using, and I posted it in the comment section. It's just one from AliExpress. It was like the least expensive one I could come across, and it's the one I've used on all my other stuff, so we kind of got to stay with the same thing or it's going to look really weird. These are the two racks of 8. I was going to band them on the bottom, and then I remembered I got some of that Kapton tape, and I put that Kapton tape on there. It's super thin. I don't think it'll interfere with it sliding in, and it's extra sturdy, man. The stuff's real strong, so I think that'll hold them together on the bottom. I took some parachute cord, made some little loops about yay big. My hands are about 10 inches across, 11 inches, so about that big. And I'm just going to slide these under the terminals when I go to pick them up, so we can get them in there, get them to cooperate like that, and loop them back through themselves, and try to even them up like that. And I'm going to take that piece of PVC pipe, just because I don't want anything metal, because there's way too much terminal on the top, and I'll probably mess up and lay it down or something. So, and then I'm gonna go ahead and lower this down. I'm gonna try to pick them up and set them in here. I did look at a couple of things, and we are going to have to make some modifications. Now I remember why on the last ones I ended up just cutting all the terminals and making them fresh. Because if you look at the top bar that bolts across there, if you look at the width on it, it's you really can't get it in there without touching them two sides. Now technically it doesn't. It'll have foam on the bottom, but it's way too close for me. So what I'm going to do this time, I think, since we've already got it this far and I don't want to have to crank out the angle grinder and cut everything apart, I'm going to take my brakes, my hand brakes, and I'm just going to bend these up all the way across. And I bent up a couple of them on one of those other short packs out there, and it does give plenty of room for the bar to get in there. So we're going to do that real quick. This might take a minute, so it's hard to get them in there. I can't find my 3-inch ones. All I can find is my 6-inch ones. So I just been putting my hand under the other side of the battery to make sure I don't short them out. So I'm just going to bend them up like that, and they're still well below this, so I don't think it'll make a difference. And as long as I don't like such, then the wire is still good for the balancing. I shouldn't have tapped all these back down with the screwdriver. In fact, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to take the screwdriver, if I can find it. I'm going to go ahead and pop them up a little bit so that I can get under them. I probably should have done this outside where there's more room, but like I said, it's like 12 degrees. And so I don't mind cold terribly, but when you start getting around 12 degrees, it's just it's uncomfortable. And then we'll go through the kit and see if we can get one of them poked in there. Once we can get one of them, get them set in there and get them bolted down, then it's going to be pretty much just like it was on the last battery build. So not a lot of new stuff there. If I can get all these without arcing them out. Wish I could find my 3-inch ones. I'm guessing somebody borrowed them. Fortunately, these are aluminum, so they're easy to work with. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but they bend real easy. Now then, this one's a little wider. Not quite as easy to bend. But alright, that's that one. And if we look at this now, it does fit down in there with, you know, plenty of extra room on either side. So we'll go ahead and try to get it set in there. I was looking at, hopefully we can use these tabs. They stick out about 7/8 of an inch past the end of the batteries. And looking down here, if I set the tape measure at 7/8 of an inch, it's at least half an inch off of this wall, and it'll be just right for bolting too, but it is like right even with this lip going down, so setting it in there might be a little bit of a trick. May have to kind of cock it when we set it down in there to avoid hitting that top. I don't know, I guess we'll figure that out when we get there. And then I'm just gonna, this is the board I was talking about. We've got balance leads still on these terminals. I'm just gonna heat that up, pull it off, and solder the new one, the one that's already attached. on there to them. And these are the temperature sensors. We'll try to ohm those out, see what their impedance is. If it's similar to these, I don't know, I might just try to use these since they're already attached. But if it's not, then what I normally do is I just fold these under, and when you tighten this down, it mashes in between the battery. There's 2 of them on each one. So let's go ahead and get all the parts out of this thing. It's all the little fiberglass dividers like before. I'm sure you guys, if you watched the previous video on the battery build, I use the same battery box. So if not, maybe you want to go back and take a look at that one. So all the little bits, that's the battery switch, the jumpers, everything. Just set them down there. What we need first is these. Go on the bottom of these rails. Just stick them up there, get them started. Line them up at the bottom. And that just lets it have something to mash against when you tighten it down to hold the cells in. Get them. So honestly, it makes me a little nervous, all those batteries sitting right there with all those exposed tabs. If something metal falls across there, could be bad. So I'm gonna try to get them in there as quick as I can, just because it makes me a little nervous. I got too much time and money invested in all this to burn it down. That's how and those little holes are supposed to line up with the vents on the batteries. That's the purpose of those. And I was saying before, I thought some of the batteries did have a negative and a positive. On the one side they do. For whatever reason, this one has a negative on it, which is cell 1, which I understand. But cell 9 has a positive and a negative on it, which I'm not sure why, but it does. That's the BMS. Go ahead and let this on down. Get the end off of it. The good news on these cases is they send you all kinds of extra screws, so if you lose one, it's not the end of the world. I've got a pile because I've used probably 15 of these cases. I got a whole thing full of, I got enough screws to do a case or two without any new ones. And what I've found on your, it's definitely easier to do it with an impact, but if you use a little magnetic bit holder, it gives you just enough length to reach past like the lips and stuff, and it magnetizes the end, so helps you hold your screws pretty good too, which is nice. Alright, now this is the plate that squishes the batteries in, and I'm sure we'll probably have to make some adjustments on this because I'm not sure the thickness of those little fiberglass pads that are in between all the batteries that we looked at. And the pads that they send these foam ones, which I don't know, they appear to me to be about the same thickness, maybe a little thinner. And you're supposed to put the batteries in there, and then when you put that end plate on, it'll crush them down in there, and the foam will take the compression in between each cell and give you a good firm hold. So we may have to experiment with the number of them on the end we need to get it in there, but you got to put the handles in first. Learn that the hard way. If you don't put the handles in first, then you got to take everything back out. So let's let's focus on those handles for a second. There's the handles. And pretty much all the screws for each section is sectioned out. I don't know. I like these little battery boxes. They're really good. The only thing that's not good on them is the feet. For some reason, there's always at least two of the bolt nuts on the bottom that you thread these into that are just not threaded real well. So they get tight and there's no place to hold them other than the foot. There's no hexed pattern that you can put a wrench on. So you tighten them in until the foot spins on the bolt, and once you're there, it's just it. So sometimes they don't screw all the way in good, and you end up with some feet that are post unlevel. But the concrete in my building here, you know, we didn't level that with any equipment or anything. We leveled that by hand with a 2x4, so it's not exactly perfect. So it hasn't been too big of a problem so far. If I remember right, these are number 7 metric. I'm not sure about the handles. And the handles are cute, but I don't know that you could pick this battery up by those handles, because there's a lip right there, and man, it eats into your fingers. I mean, my hands are pretty strong, and they'll get a hold of you. You can really just walk it over back and forth. That's all you can really do. put my sockets. I don't know what the torque on these is, but it's not a lot. I mean, you see I got a little 1/4 inch ratchet, and I just work it by the head, and you can get them tight enough to break them loose if you're not careful. Like I said, I don't really think these handles were meant to ever pick the thing up with. They're just covering up holes, I think. This is a lot of work to save a few $100s on a battery, though. I mean, if you don't mind the work, if you you know, the first 4 or 5 batteries, I didn't even see it as work because I kind of enjoyed it. But after 7 or 8 batteries, it's almost like a job, you know. Makes you want to go on Signature Solar and just buy some batteries. Put my ratchet. Put it on my ratchet. But I think most people that go into solar, they're probably quite a bit of do-it-yourself kind of electricians anyway, or they wouldn't be messing with it. For the most part, I think. Alright. So we can get the cat to lift it in there. Alright, this is the experimental part. Normally you just stack them in there one at a time. You know, you put a foam sticker on one and your little phenolic sheet, and then you just stack them on in there, stack both sides and screw the plate on. Pretty straightforward. But we got a different situation. This has got the negative, so the negative needs to be right here and the positive needs to be right there in this particular box. That's where they're supposed to end up. So you're going to have to spin this one around. Shut up. Or I guess I could turn the case around because it's lighter. You know, just gonna leave that alone. Never said I was the sharpest. Sometimes I'm a little bit retarded too. So I'm gonna stick these two there and I measured them all the same length. Of course, when you're tying a knot, it's hard to tell if you tied it the same on both ends, but I think they're pretty close, and hopefully that piece of pipe will go through there. Because this is the only real difference between just building it with cells you bought or building it with these, which are already welded together. You're just going to have to get them in there as one chunk. And they are kind of heavy. I said I hurt my side the other day, and I think it was probably from picking these up, because I picked up all 13 or 14 of them that were in one rack all together 4 times and set them up on that spool, and they were heavy. So I was like, next time, you know, I think I use some kind of mechanical advantage if I do that. Just 8 of them's not that bad though. I'm just trying to put these on there and just make sure that, you know, I've got enough. So I don't want anything to rip apart and tear apart. But this way we've got pretty much a lifting point on almost every battery. And I think it'll be good enough. So there's a plan. Well, there we go. That's the plan. Alright, I'm going to set this down on the ground so that I ain't got to fight with it so much. Because if you had 2 people, this would probably be really easy. If you want to grab that in. Oh, well, it goes down quick. Alright. All I did was bend the tabs over and put the strings in there. To bore y'all with the same old. And we'll try to drop this one in. And once we get this one dropped in. Alright, here we go. Kind of hard to maneuver that thing in there with those phenolic sheets. But that's it. It seems to work out good. We got clearance right up here, if you notice. We got plenty of clearance between those battery lugs and the end of the frame. So I'm just gonna put 4 more of these in there. That's just driving those little phenolics back. So we've got about 1/8 of an inch. Between that plate. So I'm gonna go with 3 of them, I think, on this end. I don't know. 2 of them in the plate looks like it's about right. Yeah, I'm going to bend these up just a little bit to get it under that tab. So now you could just use a bolt and any other nut there. You ain't got to use ones that came on it. All I've got handy other than those is the little 1/4 inch screws, and I'd rather use a bigger one on the end. Okay, if you can look down in there, that phenolic sheet brings it out about 1/16 of an inch past the metal. So that ought to be a good amount to bolt it in there and squeeze it up tight. So let's get screws for those. Yep, the screws barely start, and that's what you want. ones on the side on this case, you gotta you almost gotta start them with a regular screwdriver. Just a little bit of an angle. But they put notches in the case that your screwdriver will fit in. And when you go to put these things in, don't tighten them all the way up. Just to get them started. And then go back and tighten them all the way up. Need some more screws. So they put those little notches in the side so you can get your screwdriver in there.
Yeah, it's very foldable.
But you can't hardly get a impact in there. Take that little screws on half. And I just watch at the top up here to make sure it pulls all the way in. That's that for the compressing them in. They're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to get my little chop back. Just because there's a lot of dirt. Harbor Freight shop back. Works good. Scared the cat. Alright. Now for all that hard work we do. Let's get these in. And they're not identical, they're different, so you need to look at them. Cell 9, cell 16. So that one goes over here. Like a champ. Just be careful setting that in there. It's powder coated. I don't think it'll spark anyway, but it might. I'm having to press it down a little bit for that foam to tighten up. That's it, they're in there. They're not coming out. So let me fire up that soldering iron and let me take some resistance readings on these temperature sensors. And see if they're similar. It'd be easier just to use the ones that came with it and tuck them under. Well, let's see, just out of curiosity. Got my meter on ohms. $12. See what these other ones are. I'm gonna turn my soldering iron on and get it started. $14.5. Dang, that's close. $12.3, 14.5. And they've been all sitting at the same temperature for quite a while, so it's not like we just moved the batteries inside or something. I'm just going to use the ones that came on it. And just tuck them underneath. just tuck them between the foam and the batteries and snug everything back down. Alright. Dikes. Go ahead. Cut these off. That's better anyway, because apparently there's only 3 of them. Okay, well, cell number 9 negative, that's okay, because we got a, grab a bus bar. Maybe on the next one we'll move those bolts over. And they're centered on the pad. It's weird that they don't reach. But that's what it is. We'll use one of the bus bars that came with it. There's 2 negatives here, so. Oh, and they both came off. That'll reach the bolt. So that's okay. Alright, now I did notice on some of the cells, it's weird. They've got their wire, it's actually on the negative side of the bus bar. Of course, it doesn't really matter, it's still the positive of this one because they're connected. It's weird because on the other set, they're on the positive terminal. So, either way, we'll do one of those real quick. Just gonna estimate it out there. strip it. Drag Betsy over here. I'm going to go ahead and just tin it up like such. Cell number 1, they're labeled on the board. Just going to heat it up, take it off. And this is cell number 1, even though it's on the negative, it's still on the positive. So we'll tin it. Okay. And there we go. Cell number 3, same thing. Go down one side and then the other so we don't miss anything. Number 1 negative we don't have. That's all those. So I'm not sure which case you'll have, but I would say it'll have some kind of bars that go along the top, some kind of PCBs that'll tie to all the cells. If not, you can just run the long wires down through there and zip tie them all together. That's what I did on the first ones I made because I didn't have cases. Cell number 9 negative and cell number 8 positive. We'll be able to use the screws. The same with number 1 negative. We'll be able to use the bolt, I think. Oh, it's going to be tight. I have to add a little bit onto that. I dug through and I grabbed the bus bar that came on one of them that came off of the battery pack, since the regular kit ones didn't reach. And I think this will make it. Not that. Reusing the parts that came with it. It's even got a little hump in the middle, even though it don't really need it. So, one second. Grab my sockets. What to do with them? I don't remember what size that was. That's that size. And that's what I was saying, is if you fold that aluminum down real good, even if you have to, if it don't hold the bolt real good, if you take your flathead screwdriver and just on the flat sides give it a tap, then it'll hold that bolt head so you can tighten down. And works pretty good. I mean, every now and then you'll have one that don't want to cooperate, but it's pretty rare. Alright, that's it now. Being how we've messed with everything, I would recommend checking it, just because we've basically rewired all the balance leads. So I would go negative to your, this particular case starts on the left side with cell number 1. So, and they're labeled on the little board here. So if I go to C1 positive, I should have, these cells are at 3.3 volts. I don't know if you want to get in and tight on that. Okay. And then if you come up here to this little thing, you can see where I'm testing them at, because they're all labeled. You can actually solder into those little holes the way they made them if you wanted to run your own cables. But okay, so this is C2 positive, so I should have 2 batteries, so I should have about 6.6. Okay, then we go to the third cell, be 9.9 or 10. And then the fourth cell, 13.3. Then that's where one of the temperature sensors is. Then 5, 16, 6, 20, 7, 23, 8, 26, 6. Okay, so that's all good on that side. We know we're all wired up right. Okay, so we'll go to 9 positive, should be 29, 10, 33, 11, 36, 12, 40, 13, 43, 46, 49, 53. They should just continue to count up. You shouldn't hit one and go backwards. If you do, then you missed one. But those are all good. So everything's soldered down. So at this point, from here forward, it's just a standard battery build. You know, I'll do that tomorrow. We'll make a real quick video. Throw the BMS on the front panel. It'd be just like the first video I did building a battery. This was all the tricky part. This was the sketchy part, getting them all in there in one shot as opposed to stacking them one at a time, and then getting all the balance leads on there right, using the ones that are already spot welded onto it. And we even managed to use the bus bar that came out of the battery pack to make the jump across the back. So right now we got a good 54 volts right here. So from this point on, like I said, just plug in the balance leads, mount the BMS up, plug it up, put the top in, and get this girl working, because we need batteries. I really appreciate you guys watching, and if you don't want to go through all this hassle, just go to Signature Solar and buy some batteries. We got a bunch of them. They do work good, and the link is in the description down there, and it'll help us out too. And I appreciate you guys watching this, and if you can give her a thumbs up, man, it really helps. We really would appreciate it. Thanks, you guys. Y'all have a good evening.